Do you want to learn how to fetch data in JavaScript? Then this tutorial is for you. Hi everyone, my name is Yazan, and I'm an instructor at Integrify Academy. We upload new content on YouTube every Thursday. Today, we're going to dive into async await JavaScript to learn how to fetch data in sequence and in parallel. Let's go. All right, so we're going to talk about data fetching. So first of all, we're going to talk about the fetching in a sequence and then in parallel. So let's take a look at the beginning on what would it look like. What do we currently have? So we have now two functions, which we're going to dive deep into that in a moment. One is sequence and the other in parallel. And then we do have two basically endpoints. That's connected to an HTML file, which is connecting to this JavaScript and another CSS. That's all what we have. So let's dive deep into these functions here. So first of all, fetching data in sequence means that we wait for one request to finish before executing the next one. And this is where also async await shines. As you can see, or as you will see right now in the from the code, we will first wait for a request for it to finish, and then we will proceed and move on to the next one. And that's what is a sequence. So what do we have here? We have a fetch data and sequence function, and what it does here is that let me just separate it here by space for you. So we basically have this request is we send a response to an API, and that API is going to do URLs, which is visiting this link here, and we are picking the first or the first to do in this context, and then we are just serializing it, and at this point we have a to do. So that's basically the first to do, and then later on what we are doing is we are creating another request, which is fetching a post based on the to do user ID, and then we are fetching that, getting it, receiving it, and storing it in the variable. So you could see here in this function, we have two different requests, and one is depending on the other, which is the post is depending on the to do to fulfill, and then to proceed next. So if we take a look at let's invoke the function and see what it looks like. So if we invoke the function and then we go back to the browser here, we refresh, you would notice on this side is that we have two requests, and that is the sequence. You notice here that on this green is so basically this is the waterfall. You can see that the first request has started, initialized, and when it's fulfilled, the second request has picked up and moved on. And then if you take a look at the console, you would see that first we start fetching the user to do, we got the to do, and then we picked up the user ID from that to do, and where we will start fetching the user post, which is this post here. And that's it, from the network panel, where you look at that two requests, one has started, finished, and then the other one has started once the first one is finished. But let's take a look at how would it like in a parallel. What does it mean in a parallel? So if we go back, but before we go back, is what is the second pattern? Is in the parallel, and meaning that you would do multiple requests at the same time, and this is usually faster, and we can do this by using promise.all along with async await. So now you will notice that how both requests are initialized simultaneously. So, and why this is really good? It's good for fetching data that is not dependent on each other, and it's generally faster. So here we could see that one request started, ended, the other started afterwards. But what would it look like in the parallel function? So if I expand this parallel function, what do we have here? we have first we have the requests. So we created those requests, and all of these are promises to be fulfilled. So what do we do with these promises is we use promise.all. Promise.all means that, hey, return the data once all promises has finished. So when promises is finished, hey, return me all the data. And what are we doing here is we are taking all the requests from these fetching, the post URL and todos URL. In this case, you see here that these two requests are not depending on each other. I'm just getting all the to-dos and all the posts. I'm not depending on any of these. And that's where you need to go with the parallel in this case. And it's recommended not to go over 4. So 4 is the recommended one. So yeah, you can see here that this one, when you have this kind of behavior, or when you have independent requests, that's where you would use the parallel pattern. And what we're doing here is we are promising all the requests, and then when this resolves, and then we are going to get the response here. So it resolves in an array, and what we are doing is we are basically just doing an array destructuring. And this array destructuring is the order matters. You remember here in this 0 index we have the to-do URL, so meaning that the resolved response will be actually of to-dos will be at the 0 index. So the order mattered. What order do you put the to-dos and what order do you put the posts? And once we do this, we serialize both, and now we can console log both of them. So let's take a look at what would it look like in action. So if we call the parallel here, and then we go there, and let's refresh the page, and now you see the difference. So now the difference is that now both requests have initialized at the same time. And it doesn't matter, like one might be faster than the other, but eventually once all the requests have resolved, then you would have them all available at your disposal. And now you could see here that fetching both posts or both requests, and then we got back the to-dos and the post. It's pretty cool. So right now here is, if we think about what is the differences between them, and to compare, is that fetching in sequence is great when the second request depends on the data from the first. However, it's slower. On the other hand, fetching in parallel is faster, but you should be used when the requests are independent only. And it's essential to choose the right approach based on your application needs. So ask yourself, which approach do you want to go with? And then based on the needs, you go ahead and follow. All right, so it's a short one. So that's it for today's video. I hope you now have a better understanding on how to use async await for fetching data in both parallel and sequence. Experiment with these techniques. There's a lot of approaches, a lot of other ways that you could do. This is just kind of like a starters, for you to get your hands dirty. So yeah, experiment with these techniques and let me know how it goes in the comments. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.